writings of Hezekiah, king of Judah, when he had been sick and was recovered of his sickness. Do you remember when Hezekiah was sick unto death? He had a boil and was going to die. The time was up. He went in his bed and he wept and prayed to the Lord, and the Lord gave him 15 more years. He recovered him from that sickness that he had. And he was very happy about that, I'm sure. Then if you go over to chapter 39, it says here, the king of Babylon sent a letter and a present to Hezekiah, for he had heard that he had been sick and was recovered. You're doing well, Hezekiah. We're glad that you're doing well. You're recovered. And Hezekiah was glad of them, verse 2, and showed them from a far country unto me, even from Babylon. Then said he, what have they seen in thy house? And Hezekiah answered and said, all that is in my house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasure that I have not shown them. I showed them everything I had. Why did Hezekiah want to do that? We're out of what he had. He wanted to show it. Now, here we go. Verse 5. Then said Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, to Hezekiah, hear the word of the Lord of hosts. That's what the prophet did. God told the prophet told the king, Hezekiah, behold, the days come that all that is in thy house and that which thy father have laid up in store until this day shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. All the stuff that you had shown that king, you're going to lose. Now here we go, verse 7. And thy sons that shall issue from thee in the future, which thou shalt begot, shall be taken away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Now, this is what's going to happen, but not right away, in the future. So it says here, thy son that shall issue from you, as things go on. The king's seed. Next king, next king, next king. The king's seed will go along. That's what that's saying. Now, but not in Hezekiah's day, because in verse 8 it says, then Hezekiah to Isaiah, this is what he said, good is the word of the Lord, which thou hast spoken. For he said, moreover, for there shall be peace and truth in my day. During my reign, during my time, there'll be peace and truth. What's going to happen down the road? Well, that's not for me. It's good what the word of the Lord says. It's good. It's the word of the Lord which thou hast spoken.
There's 3 kings, right? 3 kings.
3 kings?
Yeah. Herod, David, and...
Yeah, but we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Just one king, Hezekiah. Okay. Now, sometimes we think what's happening right now, we'll just worry about right now. We're not worried too much about what's going to happen to our grandchildren or great-grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren down the road. Just like Hezekiah. It's okay for me right now. Everything's going good. Sometimes you have to worry about what's going to happen down the road to our kids.
Why was that happening to Hezekiah? Because he was serving other gods? Like, why did that...
What it says here, that he showed the enemy, I guess the Babylonian people, all that he had.
Because he showed the enemy, that was the consequence? So that mistake...
That's what it says.
Oh, wow.
All your stuff that you have, you're going to lose it.
So he shouldn't have done that?
No, I don't think you should have done that. No.
Or was there something else going on? Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be taken out. We wouldn't have done that. Okay. What else is that? You see in that verse 7. Be taken away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the kings of Babylon.
His sons, why wouldn't that bother him?
All the king's people, all the sons, that are the king's sons, all the way along, even King David's son and Solomon, all were educated. They were all in a different realm. They were wealthy, so to speak, educated, so to speak, than the regular common poor people over here. Not educated very well. They were Pharaoh's a king. You're going to see that in a minute. If you'll turn with me to the book of Daniel now, we're starting the book of Daniel to see how far we can get. The kings went down from Hezekiah all the way down. Now it says there, the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah. He's a king now.
What chapter?
Chapter 1 of Daniel. Daniel, book of Daniel, chapter 1. Book of Daniel, chapter 1. Okay? You have it? Okay. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and Jerusalem, and besieged it. Here, the time has passed. Quite a bit of time, maybe 100 years or so has passed. Now, the time has come where they were taken, Jerusalem, and besieged it. Took it. Okay? Now, verse 2. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into the hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, that's right, which he carried into the land of Shar, to the house of his God, small g. And he brought the vessel into the treasure of the house of his God, small g. They took the stuff that Hezekiah had and was passed on, all that stuff was taken, even though it was passed on to king, it was taken and brought to Babylon, okay, unto his God, brought the vessels in. Verse 3. And the king spake unto Aspazes, I guess it is, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and the king's princes. Give me the best of the king's seed. That he said, remember back in Isaiah, said, your seed of your king in the future, they're going to take, and they're going to make you eunuchs. Okay, now,
What are eunuchs?
that's what we're going to get to right now.
What are they?
They are just like you and me. They're people. Okay. Anybody want to challenge that one before I get into it? What are eunuchs?
They can no longer procure, or is that the right word?
I mean, what do
Have
they do?
children.
They castrate them or something?
Yes,
I
they're
mean,
castrated.
unbelievable that
Yeah.
they would do that. Terrible.
But otherwise, yeah.
Let me see if I get this right here now. There's 3 types of eunuchs.
Oh.
Okay. There's the eunuch that was castrated, what we have here. There's eunuchs that are
Born that way.
born that way. They don't, Then there's eunuchs who maybe through birth had some kind of difficulties or something happened and they just, that way. But the one we're talking about here is they made them eunuchs because they didn't want them to have relations with their people, with their daughters or their king's daughters, or wherever it was, people there. So that was the thing that they did in those days to the captivity. So now, some people believe that Daniel and his 3 other friends were castrated. Some people believe they weren't. Okay, I believe they were because what it says in the book of Isaiah says that they were be. Okay, now as I read that, that's what they did when they captured the Hebrew kids. Do you remember Joseph?
I was thinking that was Joseph?
No.
Ah,
Joseph, remember Potiphar's house? His wife said.
oh, so he wouldn't have been at the
Yeah, so he put him in.
Okay.
Joseph had 2 sons.
All right.
So he was not a eunuch. But you'll see where Daniel and his friends were made eunuchs, okay, in those days. Now, I wondered about that for a minute or two and said, back in those days, how did they perform that operation without some knowledge of, they didn't die, I mean, they lived, but they had to be somehow, some way that they performed that operation, they still lived. Back then, way back then. Okay, we're moving on. Verse 4. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, skillful in all wisdom and cunning and knowledge and understanding of science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. We'll take the smart ones. Pick the ones of the king's seed. People that are educated, people that know science and know all this stuff. We'll use them. Okay? Now, verse 5. And the king appointed them a daily portion of the king's meat, and of wine which he drank, and nourished them 3 years, that the end of thereof they might stand before the king. Now, that's a long one. We got to go over this one again. The king appointed them a daily portion of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, to nourish them 3 years, that the end of thereof they might stand before the king. 3 years? Why 3 years? Anybody? Any guess? Okay. Well, these were taken of the king's seed. Maybe about 100 or so of them were taken. And they gave him the meat and the wine, the good stuff that the king ate. Hey, this ain't too bad, is it? We were captured, we're taken, and boy, we're eating good, eating at the king's table, taking his wine, eating his food. Now, what's wrong with that? Anything?
Was it worship to idols? They didn't want to eat
No.
meat, so we're not allowed in there.
They all ate it but 4. Okay. Why 3 years?
Who was the 4? Was it 3 or 4?
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Daniel.
Oh, and Daniel.
War. Okay. Here we go.
Not a way
All
to
right.
do it.
3 years. 3 years to learn the ways of the Babylonians. To learn the ways of the Babylonians. Learn their ways. Now, I thought about that. You go way back to Israel. Remember when Joseph brought his father and his family to Egypt and gave him Goshen? And they was fine, they had the land, until another Pharaoh came and he made them slaves. And they were there 400 years. And then when they left to go, what's the first thing they did? They took the ways of Egypt and made the golden calf. They made all the ways of that because that's what they did. This is what this king wanted to do with them. Put them here for 3 years and they'll learn our ways. What do you think?
Where we are in this world without God. Learning the ways of
It's like, let me see if we can learn. I put this way. When you were unsaved, you had your ways. When you got saved, so Christ Savior, you had these ways. Sometimes you want to go a little bit back to these ways or go this way. But you have your ways. We change. As all things pass away, all things become new when you're a Christian. New ways, not the old ways. Some go back to the old ways, some don't, but they had the new way. This is what this king wanted to do. He wanted to, after 3 years, they'll be just like us.
So in a way, they were kind of trying to kill out the Israelites that way, almost like the Holocaust, you know? Because they made them eunuchs, they couldn't produce, they were filling them with their stuff.
Right.
trying to destroy them.
Using them. They were smart, they were educated. They didn't take, what they did when they left, when they took the prisoners from Babylon, from Israel, they took the best, took the king's seed, took all of them. The ones they left behind were the ones that were poor or unlearned. But they were farmers. And what they did, they had to continue to build the crops, corn, or whatever they raised, and they had someone left there to oversee that. So when they come back, they say, give us all the crops. They got something out of them. They were growing it, and we were taking it. Okay, same thing. Okay, but in that 3 years, they changed. People change. Okay, let's see. Verse 6. Now among these were the children of Judah. Now, here we go. Children of Judah. Now we go back to this. Go back to Solomon, king. Okay, and then his son, Rehoboam, Jeroboam. King was split. 10 tribes went to one, 2 tribes went to the other, okay? Judah was the 2 tribes that came here in Babylon. The 10 tribes went to Syria. These tribes of Judah came to Babylon, okay? So now we know. Among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. Why? They have a name. What do you want to give me their name for? What kind of names did he give them? These names are Hebrew names, Jewish names. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. At the end, Ha means Jehovah. Jewish names. But it says here, unto the prince of the eunuchs gave names to them, for he gave unto them Daniel, he named Belshazzar. And Hananiah, he made Shadrach, and to Mishael, and to Azariah, Abednego. Babylonian names. Oh, I don't think I want that name. I like my old name. No. See how they were changing? See how they were changing their names? See how they were changing their ways of eating? See how they were changing their ways? They wanted it to blend right into them. Be just like them. Okay? Now, verse 8. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Prince of the eunuchs, you're in charge of us. Oh, I know the other fellows here, there's a bunch of us here came over from Israel, and they're eating the king's wine, they're eating the king's meat, and they're half satisfied with it and all that. No, I'm not going to eat it. I propose in my heart, I'm not going to eat that king's meat. I'm not going to drink that wine. Now, you would think you're disobeying. Might be trouble. Now, why wouldn't he eat the meat and drink the wine? Hey, look, let's come down to earth a little bit here. I'm captured. I'm brought out of Israel in chains to Babylon. I'm not free no more. I can't do nothing more. Lord, I can't help it. I'm in bondage here. They're making me eat this meat and wine. I have to eat it. I have to drink it. I'm here. What am I going to do? What do you think of that? Would you do it? After all, what am I going to do here? I'm told I have to do what I'm told, or I would be punished perhaps. But Daniel took a stand. Oh, to take a stand, it may cost you. Just like today, say, I want to take a stand for the Lord. I'm going to tell people about the Lord. I'm going to tell people they need to get saved. I'm going to tell people where you're heading. Boy, they'll jump all over you. They'll try to beat you down. They'll try to do everything they can to discredit you. Yeah. You believe that Bible? You mean you believe that thing? Oh, that book of hate? That book of prejudice? That book of that? They'll beat you down. But take a stand. It's hard to take a stand. It's hard to be called names and put down and shunned and so forth and so on. All right, but let's see what they do. Verse 9. Now God had brought Daniel into the favor of the tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. He made friends with the captain of the eunuchs, the person that was in charge. He made friends with him. Okay. And the prince of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear, my lord, that the king who hath appointed you meat and drink, for why should he see your face worse, likened to the children which are of your sort? Then shall he make in danger my head to the king. If you don't eat and you look like you're really nourished and skinny and faces pulled in, what happened to these? Well, they didn't want to eat your meat. You'll be in trouble because you're in charge. You'll make sure they eat that thing, eat that food. Verse 11. Then said Daniel to Azar, who was the prince of the eunuchs, who set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. He says, look, let's be nice. He was nice to them. They both talked nicely and said, if you'll just give us pulse for 10 days, after 10 days, see how we look. And if we look really bad at then, well, we'll have to do what you have to do. At least give us that, would you please? That's what he said. Then said Daniel the Measure, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse. Do you know what pulse is? Anybody know what pulse is?
That's
Yeah. It would be lentil, beans, vegetables, chickpeas. Oh, I like chickpeas. We give them that kind of stuff. That's what it was like. Instead of eating the king's meat, they give me pulse. Okay? Now, and drink water. That's all they wanted, water. Let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou sayest, deal with thy servant. So he consented to them in this matter and proved them 10 days. I'll give you 10 days. 10 days, fellows, you can eat this pulse for 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, the countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children that did eat of the portion of the king's meat. It looked better. What do you think?
I think I like the idea of 10 days and they looked better. That's encouraging.
Eating them vegetables for 10 days.
Yes.
And vegetables are good for you. He took away the portion of their meat and wine that they should drink and gave them pulse. He gave them what they wanted to eat, the pulse. As for these four children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Who else had all?
Joseph.
Joseph had wisdom and dreams, right? Same thing here. Now, see what it says, verse 18? Now the end of the days. See where it says that, end of the days? That's the end of 3 years. That was the 3 years. Remember the king said, in 3 years? Well, that was the end of the days, 3 years. The king had said that he should bring them in. The prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, is that it? Okay. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Azariah, Mishael, and Azariah there stood before the king. They looked better than the other ones that were eating the good stuff. What do you think? Think they're all right?
Yeah,
They did good so far.
I think so.
They looked fairer and better, and they had all the wisdom and the knowledge. It doesn't say too much about the other ones that were taken, seed of the king's seeds. Or a lot of them, they were eating good, drinking wine.
Cardiac issues.
They didn't know. Right.
Yeah.
Let me see. Did you ever hear, maybe in your reading or somewhere along the line, it's called the time of the Gentiles? Did you ever hear that expression, time of the Gentiles? The time of the Gentiles began when Israel went into captivity in Babylon. Okay, they were in Judah under Nebuchadnezzar. That was the beginning of the time of the Gentiles. And that time will come, the end of the time of the Gentiles, when Christ comes back. That will be the end.
So
Okay.
it started when they went to Babylon.
Yeah, that's when it started, the time of the Gentiles. Okay. Now, where was I? Now, at the end of the days, the king had said unto him, bring them in, and the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king commanded with them among them. All was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, and then brought a king. In all matter of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them. He found them 10 times better than all the magicians and sorcerers that were in his realm. 10 times better. Wow. And Daniel continued even to the first year of Cyrus. And in the second year of reign of Nebuchadnezzar, dreamed a dream, with his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Here he had a dream. You remember someone else had a dream? Remember? And Joseph was in prison. Joseph was in the prison. And he told the baker and the butler, one was hung, the other one was released. When you get out, tell Pharaoh that I'm innocent. And he said, okay. And he got out of prison and forgot him for 2 years. 2 more years Joseph was in prison. And he would have been in prison, but Pharaoh had a dream. And no one could interpret that dream. Then the butler says, oh, I remember this little Jewish boy in prison. He could do that. They brought Joseph out, gave him a shave and a haircut, and get some nice clothes, brought him up, and he interpreted the dream. Here we see where Daniel can interpret dreams. Now let's see what happens here. Chapter 2. And in the second year of reign, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed a dream, and the spirit was troubled, and the sleep brake from him. He couldn't sleep from this dream. What's this troubling me, this dream? I don't know what's the matter here. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dream. So they came and stood before the king. Okay, I had a dream. Bring me this here. I want you to interpret this dream to me. I want you to know what it is. He brought all the sorcerers, all the soothsayers, all in there. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Okay, what's your dream, king? And we'll give you the interpretation. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king of Syrak, I guess it is, Syrak. O king, live forever. Tell thy servant the dream, and we will show the interpretation. And the king answered and said to the Chaldean, the thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your house shall be made a dunghill.
Oh, he was cranky.
Wait. Oh, king, whoa. Hold up, king. Tell me the dream, and I'll give you the interpretation. Well, I don't remember the dream.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's what he says. The thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream. It's gone, but you can tell me. Tell me. Well, how can I tell you if you don't tell me what it is? If you don't tell me what it is, you're going to be cut in pieces, it says here. Tell me the interpretation thereof, and you should be cut in pieces, and your house shall be made a dung. But if ye shall show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and reward and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. Show me. And the king answered and said, I know certainly that you would gain time because you see the thing that's going from me. Let me think about it for a while, and we'll come up with something. He ain't buying that. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one degree for you, for ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me the interpretation thereof. Tell me the dream, then show me the interpretation of it. That's a hard thing. How can you do that? If I said I had a dream last night, and boy, I got to know the interpretation of that dream. Could you tell me what it is? Well, what'd you dream? Well, I don't remember. Well, how am I going to tell you? That's what happens here. Then the Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, or ruler that asks such a thing as any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. How can you ask such a thing? Nobody can interpret that. It is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except God, small g, who dwelleth is not with flesh. Small g there. For this cause the king was angry and furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And a decree went forth, the wise men should be slain, and he sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain too. Uh-oh. They're going to be slain with them. Uh-oh, what do we do now? 14. And Daniel answered with wisdom to Allah, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. And he answered and said to I guess that's his name, the king's captain, why is this decree so hasty from the king? Made the thing known to Daniel? Oh, then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him the time that he may show the king the interpretation. Don't kill all these people, all these soothsayers and all these people of Babylon, and kill us too, us four kill us with them. Give me time. Verse 17, then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions. And they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men in Babylon. And there was a secret revealing unto Daniel in the night vision, that Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. Whew. He showed them the dream. They were doomed. They were all going to be dead. Okay? Now, it says here, when Daniel went into his house and made the thing known to his friends, and they would desire the mercy of God in heaven concerning the secret things. Do you think Daniel had power with God?
His credit score was,
His credit rating was high. All right? He had power with God. For one thing, he took a stand. When he was captured, he was captured. When he was told to eat the king's meat and keep the drinks wine, he said, nope, I ain't going to do it. Okay? And he talked to them, and he said, well, give us the pulse and we'll look better than those men. And the eunuch, he made friends with them, and he said, well, my head may be on the block. If I give you this and the king finds out you're skinnier and lean, give me 10 days. All right, I'll go along with you. And he gave them 10 days, and they were fatter and better than the rest of them. He took a stand with God. Number one, that was the first one he took. He took more. But God revealed the dream to him and the interpretation thereof. That nobody else would know what that is except the king. Okay? Verse 24. Coming down. Therefore Daniel went in unto whom of the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. And he went and said thus unto him, destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. And then I brought Daniel before the king in haste, and said unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation. Now, 20. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? And Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret thing which the king hath commanded cannot wise men, or soldiers, or magicians, or soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that reveals secrets and make known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. The dream and the vision of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thought came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter, and he that revealeth secret maketh known to thee what shall come to pass in the future. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living. I don't have any power. This is what God tells me, and I tell you. But for their sake, that you shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mayest know the thoughts of thy heart. I'm going to tell you your dream and the interpretation and what's going to happen in the future for you. Only Daniel could do this. I'm not going to get into what the dream is today. We're going to wait until next week and find out what that dream was.
I love that he started out with, my God gave me this. Daniel didn't go in there acting like he knew it.
Yeah, he didn't go in there saying, well,
Yeah.
I can tell you what it is. No, I want this. No, he was telling it that God told me, and I'm telling you. That's what it was. Okay? Anything else before? I don't want to go any further what the dream was today. But anything so far in Daniel?
Well, back in the beginning of Daniel, when they wanted to just eat the vegetables, it was mentioned how he would look to Jerusalem, right, and pray 3 times a day. So he was pretty prayed up there during all that because he stayed that way. I would
Yeah, Daniel has a testimony. It was a very good testimony, of course. He went through it. stick to God even though times were tough. It's hard if you were in that position they were in to take that stand.
But he made that commitment and he kept it.
Right.
He could.
I know, just for a couple of minutes here, if you want to take a stand, do you ever work in a, well, see, I worked in a shop, and all men, and boy, oh boy, it's hard to witness to someone
Oh,
at work.
yes, it is.
They don't want to hear that. They want to, so what do? You're going to be shunned. You're not going to be invited out, or anything like that. So you take your stand. I had people say things to me that weren't very nice, but that's the way it goes, So you have to take a stand somewhere along the line as a Christian. Not easy.
But in the end, Bob, they did know that you were a godly man, right? I mean, your witness was still strong to these guys, whether they accepted that or not, but they saw it in you, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, they did. I got another minute. Tell you a little story. When I was working, this is a long time ago, I worked in a shop, and I was separated in the tool and die shop and out to the men out here. And on my break or my lunchtime, I would go out and walk around, and I could see somebody I could talk to on my time, So I saw this man, older man, this black man he was, sitting there. So I said, let me go talk to him. So he didn't want to be nasty, but he didn't want to too much. You could see where he didn't want. So I talked to him and joked a little bit about other things and sort of got the gospel in a little bit at a time. And I went back, and the next day, same thing. I came up and, how you doing, Al? His name was, sat with him. Oh, you going to again? No, I won't get it. I'll just talk to you. Anyway, it went on and on, witness to him. So one day, came to work, and where's Al? I didn't see him. On vacation? I said, ain't nobody. Look around the next day. Said, Al had a heart attack. He's in the hospital. Oh, what hospital is he in? He was in Nazareth Hospital. After work, boom, I went up to Nazareth Hospital, took a little tract and a little Bible. Where's Al? We're up to the room. Here he is. He said, oh, no. I said, I got you, Al. You're in bed. You can't get out. All you can do is look up. And he laughed, So I left the little Bible and the thing, and I prayed for him. And that's all now. Okay, I left. That was the end of that. Al couldn't come back to work because of his heart. He was an older man. Time went past. And one day I was working, and lunchtime came, and all of a sudden, here comes Al walking in to see everybody, And he came right to me. And he said, are you still at it? I said, yes, I am. I said, glad to see you and so forth. And he said, you remembered what you said. I remembered what you said. So I figured, boy, that was a witness. I came back, and he came back, and the first place he went was right into me, and he said, I'm still doing it. Am I still witnessing? I said, yeah. That's a good testimony, I thought, for that.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if he got saved, I don't know. But I know he heard the gospel. I know that for sure. So, and after that, even a little bit more, was some people that worked in there said, I heard you went to see Al. I said, yeah. Then I was called the Bible man. There goes the Bible guy. They called me, I said, okay, that's fine, But I did go to witness in work again, another area, and they were Muslims. And I didn't know it. And I went to them, and boy, they told me to, boop, out of here. So, see ya. They didn't want to hear that. Okay, you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it. Just kick the dust off your feet and move on, the Bible says. Okay, let's close for Sunday school time. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the time together as we go to the morning service, speaking and through Pastor. We pray for a good day in your house, Lord. We pray for the singing, the preaching, and the fellowship for your honor, for your glory. Lead us to the morning service, and we'll thank you in Christ's name with thanksgiving. Amen.